Oh, no, it's just easy. Oh my god, has it already started? Okay.
Yeah, it says, well, that can be removed in editing, or it might not be.
As usual, a great start from us. Hello, welcome to a queer performance art piece by us.
It's an egg, it's the cosmic egg. It's like, remember when we're like this?
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah.
Exactly like that. Hello. Today on Actual Spinster, I have a guest, Butch Poetics.
Hey.
Or Amanda, and we are going to talk about the shortlist of the Republic of Consciousness Prize, and we're also going to talk about what we want to win and like who we think will win. We already made a video on Amanda's channel about the shortlist, but it was a bit before, like I read a few more than I did then, and I guess that was also more in the context of like the long list and the shortlist.
Yeah, kind of what we wanted to have been nominated, like or we thought about it, like, yeah, what our ideal list would be. And I guess this is more us like reacting to the actual books on the list, discussing them, then like ranking them and saying which one we want to win. Also, everyone should comment which one they think that we think should win.
What, like guess? Yeah, okay.
I guess they could differ, but like I'm willing to bet real money that we want the same book.
Do you want to talk about which ones we've read and which ones we haven't read?
Yeah, so I haven't read any since like the long list video. So I don't know if you watched that, but the ones I have read is Lot by Shalom. I don't have any of the books either because I'm a fool.
I'll be the book model.
Which is my favorite book of last year. And I read The Mermaid of Black Conch by Monique Ruffy. Which I read more recently. Mari's also here. Oh, is you recording it?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Like the third book is A Ghost in Throat by Darren Negrofa, which I also read quite recently. And then there's two that I haven't read. So do you want to like talk about at least one? I know you read one more than me.
Yeah, so this is the other one that I read, and this is A Musical Offering by Louis Sagasti, translated by Fionn Petch.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one neither of us have read was Men and Apparitions.
Yeah, Men and Apparitions. I actually did really want to read that and the one you just showcased. It just like I couldn't really like get them in time, and then it became like a whole thing. So I just didn't.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you would like this one. I think you would find some parts interesting, but I don't think you're like missing out that much on not reading it. But
you want to start talking about that one?
Yeah, well, I was thinking maybe should we rank the ones that we read? Because I have a very clear picture in my mind of like from least favorite to favorite.
Yeah, of the ones we read.
Yeah.
Okay, so I obviously only read 3 of them, and on third place is A Ghost in the Throat, which I had like quite high expectations for. Like I'm usually able to tell if I'm gonna like a book, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be super interesting. But I just find it like very tedious. And we talk about synopsis, but like it's very like, as you said, like on the nose. It's very like, ooh, womanhood, ooh, a text. And it just doesn't really like do anything that interesting. But it actually does something very interesting, but it's actually like doing anything at all. But I guess we should talk more about like the books later. But in second place, I have Murmur of Black Conch by Monique Ruffy, which I did really enjoy. My like one thing with it is that it's a bit like heterosexual, but I think it's like, yeah, very interesting. And then my clear number one love forever in my life is Low by Charlotte Reinhold. We both like dressed for the occasion. Like this is a lot more purple in real life than this on screen. And Anna Marie's obviously very purple goddess. That's my rankings. How about you?
Yeah, my ranking is the same. I actually can't quite decide like between these two where I would place them. So I actually think I'm going to put them like both kind of at third. Like they're not like they were both fine, and some bits I did enjoy and some bits I didn't, because I should have liked this book. But anyway, we'll talk more about that in a bit. But yeah, so that's my third. Then my second is The Mermaid of Black Conch, and then obviously Lo is my favorite. Yeah, so we're pretty well suited.
I was thinking maybe you put the music one above the Ghost in the Throat, maybe, but that was the only thing I thought would like differ.
Yeah, I think it's just like I think the reason I feel like kind of sad about doing that / I didn't do that was because I like the idea of this, and like on the surface as well, like this should be a book that I love. Like it's literally about like pregnancy, mothering, you know? Yeah, it's like very directly about pregnancy in a way that even books that are about motherhood aren't even really.
Yeah, and I feel like if I were to like see that, I'd be like, oh, that'd be a perfect book for you. You know what I mean? Because like I always like would enjoy, but it was like very much just like what it's doing.
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, it's very much like an Anne Marie
Yeah.
text.
But then like it's not. But like it could be, which is because like I also just thought that there was going to be more like blood drinking in this.
Yeah, it's in the synopsis, and I was just like that because like my main thing I'm saying about this book is like I expected to be more weird, and that was my like big disappointment, that and the word female being used 10,000 billion times.
Yeah.
But the fact is like it's like, oh, she drank his blood like in her grief and composed the poem, like to be much more about just like the act of writing poetry and poetics and drinking blood. And
Yeah.
so I think blood was a significant like part of it. Like if I was obsessed with that text, my main thing would be like the blood drinking.
Yes.
It would be like
Obviously.
takes her female lips and tongue up until the male blood, and
The
she
scar on my finger was a female text.
oh, the spatter now from him like on my blouse is like forming words, a female text question mark.
Because like the bit that I was just like, geez, Louise about was like she's talking about like the horse that was like Art's horse, and she says, it's so hard to read this seriously. I want you to know that she was a female being. I want you to know that she was a female, comma, being. I want you to know that she was. Say that again.
I think that's very like I don't know, because like I'm sure she's like I don't know, because like it has a lot of interesting concepts. It's like an interesting book. I think the execution is very very poor.
Yeah.
Like you know how like with poetics, like it's all about like making things not sound trite and like cliche, and kind of like making concepts, ideas, and themes like it's like engaging and like present them in new ways and kind of like it's a bit like off. I think hers is just like she wants to say something and say like the most like direct cliche way possible while utilizing like poetic like techniques or whatever, but in a very like woman, and then like woman all caps, and then the bit where it's like the horse of female being, and then like female being, femaleness exists in the world, perhaps even as an object in this text you're holding in your hand right now. Like there it is.
Yeah. I really just think like as well, like if this book had been edited by somebody who was like, you say like female text too often, and also like please don't like shove your images down readers' throats, like let us do some work, like you don't have to constantly tell us, like do you know what I mean? Like that was so frustrating to me as well, because I actually feel like there's a way that like sometimes bad writing makes it seem like people are bad readers, which isn't the case, especially when like this book is so much about like reading a piece of poetry and like gleaning as much as you can possibly from it, which you're not being given because it's like a desperate search, which like why couldn't we have also experienced that, you know, rather than just being like handed like over and over again, like.
And especially because like it is her recounting her experience like uncovering the text or whatever, and I feel like it would not fall together so neatly, like all the like specific things wouldn't like happen to perfectly fit in her life in a way that makes super obvious what's happening, you know what I mean? Like you need to like work for it and like I said like uncover it, and I feel like that would be a really interesting like reading inspiration, like experience that like with her, but about like her life and like the poet and stuff. I don't know, I just think that like I think I'm being so harsh just because like it sounds like it should be so interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
And then just like
yeah.
she doesn't like do anything bad. It's just that like you know, I think we're gonna use all these like very obvious like metaphors and allegories and stuff like images, they need to be more like interesting. You know what I mean? Like, they need to be more like if it's gonna be this like oh lyrical or waxing poetic on like femaleness and like being.
Also, I do think that like if you are a parent and you like were pregnant with your child and like did breastfeeding and all sorts of stuff, but you aren't a woman, like you won't be able to read this basically, because it just is so much predicated on this like female equals this, which I also think is such a mistake as well, because I do think that there's a way that like being a mother is actually like a kind of different gender category because of the way it's so hyper exploited that you do you know what I mean? I don't know, like, and that's again where like I love reading books about that kind of thing. I love reading books about the relationship between like feminized labor and mothering and care and the fraught relationship between those two things, but then this just like absolutely doesn't do that. Like it just relies on this most like basic definitional thing.
Yeah, and it's the whole thing about like, I don't know, like I think for her like the act of like childbearing and like giving birth and like breastfeeding or like chest feeding is so like intrinsically like, oh, she is a female and a woman, and it's very like how these like innate things is like helping her kind of like uncover like connected history to like other women or whatever. But obviously like labor and mothering is very different from any sense of like the idea of like a woman's writing or like a woman's text.
Yeah,
like, it's anything to do with like the ability to like birth a child.
Yeah.
And it just is very strange to me. And I agree, like I think that like if I had a child and I was like breastfeeding the child, I wouldn't like want to read.
Yeah.
Just like the way she like contextualizes it is quite like a lot, you know.
And I also felt really bad for her, like one girl child, because of like how she immediately was like, and then I did something that I didn't do with my 3 other boy children. I put her hair into female ponytails.
Yeah. Oh no, literally, because I was like, did I imagine that? Because like I had to reread that because I was like, did I read that wrong? It's like you have a child and then it's like, oh my god, it's a female child, so I can raise it differently and do different things and like gender the child's body different. You know what I mean? I just immediately, oh wow, now my female lineage is continued, and I make sure that's happening by like putting the child's like hair into like. I was just like, oh.
I think the one other thing I want to say about it as well, just is that like there's like a piece of writing by Helen Cizou, right, called The Laugh of the Medusa, and what it came out in like the 60s or something, maybe 70s, and it's like from a wave of like French feminist sort of like philosophical writing, and in it like she talks about how it's like very famous in terms of kind of like literary stuff and also like feminist criticism. She talks about how like women have to write like with the milk ink of their bodies, and obviously like I actually think like The Laugh of the Medusa is much less sexist than this book is, but like you know, theoretically it's interesting, and also like contextually it was interesting, and people definitely have been like impacted by it. But then I do feel like that this book like turned around, looked at that from, you know, 50 years ago or whatever, and was like, this is breaking edge feminism right here. I'm gonna write about, you know, my female breast producing female milk, like, you know, like it's again, it's so obvious, and it's also like it's not doing anything new, like it's not.
No, because I read that as well, but like I think like in my first year university or whatever, and like as part of like you know the feminism part, like an introduction like module do it like this, and it's just like I think that like the things like it wasn't even in the conversation with the text, it was just you're just like, oh, this is really interesting, I'm gonna present in relation to my life, like you're like in dialogue.
Or if you could hear the rain, it just started raining really strongly.
Oh,
you hear it?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Sorry.
Sorry. Nature, female liquid dripping down from the sky.
Oh my god.
No, what I was saying, like it for me, it did not even have like critique text. It just like engage in like a meaningful way, but it doesn't even engage. You're just like, oh, this is interesting. I'm gonna use this imagery from my text. Which is also a female text, perhaps.
Okay. Are we done talking about this one? I feel like we talked about it for a really long time.
I feel really harsh. I feel kind of bad.
Yeah, I know you do. But I think the reason why we're so harsh is because like it had so much potential, like the thing, and for me like the mothering part and like the pregnancy part, but then it just didn't follow through.
Yeah, it's because like I've been very stressed about my top 10 books are gonna be of the year because there's so many good books, and this is one of the ones I was like, oh, I'm gonna love it so much. It's probably like might have to go on the list, but I have to remove other potential books I'm gonna put on the list in, you know, like 8 months or whatever. You know how the mind works. But then obviously I was just like, oh.
I guess if we just talk briefly about this, because obviously you haven't read it, but like it's like a selection of, well, it's kind of like a fragment all about music, but in like different forms, I guess. So it kind of talks about like music and its relation to like sleep and insomnia, music and its relation to war and like violence and stuff, and also in relation to kind of like resilience and keeping people going, and I guess also like music as a kind of like social medium to connect or disconnect from people or with people. Yeah, it's like pretty short, and I definitely liked some bits more than others. I think it was like an interesting book, but I mean I didn't personally feel very like anything really towards it or about it. I think, to be honest, like I think if you had read this we would also be a bit like, don't know what to say.
more like, oh, it was interesting in some parts, but it's a bit like mid-tier or whatever.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I tied it with these two is because like this was like a fine thing to read, but like it didn't personally touch me at all. Then the next one on our joint list, I really like how we both basically have the same ranking.
Yeah, very
Um,
sexy.
The Mermaid of Black Conch.
Mm-hmm.
So this is good. We did talk about it because we had both read it before in the last video.
Yeah, because I don't know if I want to be like watch the video and then watch this, but like I hadn't finished it at that point,
Oh,
and I
right.
guess like I enjoyed it more and more. Like my favorite bits were the ones where like she was talking about like being in the sea and like the whales being her friends and stuff. I just really like books that are like set in water. So I appreciate, even though like because there's a storm and stuff and it becomes more and more kind of like sinister, I did kind of like enjoy the increased presence of water. It's my spicy take. I guess I should say what it's about this mermaid who was like cursed to be a mermaid by like angry women in the village. She like roams the seas and it's like fisherman sees her and falls in love with her and she's trapped and he like rescues her and they fall in love.
Yeah, it's a really nice book. Yeah, I feel like we don't need to talk about it that much because we did already talk about it. But I agree. Like I think like the water element is really nice in here, and I also like it's not like fragmentary in the same way of like a musical offering, but like it's almost like a source book about what happened. And then when Achaia speaks, she speaks in when Achaia speaks, she speaks in verse, and so like that's very different and stuff. But it's super nice to hear her voice like weaving throughout the book as well.
I really, really enjoyed that. I kind of wish I'd listened to it to be honest, just for that bit. That was like really beautiful to read.
Yeah, yeah, good.
I
Also,
really enjoyed
my
it. So I
nails look very nice.
huh? What did you say? Sorry.
I said also my nails look very nice on it.
Nice.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed kind of just how the like language and communication, how that was represented as well.
yeah,
And we talk about this in last video as well, but that's kind of like it kind of echoes a lot of the things that happens in the Ghost and Short, I think.
yeah.
I think this is much more successfully and with like a different like end goal, but like communication and being and kind of like how you tell a story, and that's kind of the same in Lot. So I think that's just an interesting thing to like highlight.
Yeah, no, I mean, having read 4 of them, I started writing a bit of a list about like the connections and the kind of similar themes I felt like with them. So yeah, definitely, like I definitely can agree about the correlations there.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting. But yeah, it was a good book.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
it was like a new favorite, but it's just like very well crafted. Like it's really good. It's interesting. I'm glad I read it. Like I would recommend it to people.
And now we get to talk about Looked.
I actually feel like I talk about it so much that it becomes like a thing that I'm just like, it's great. It was my favorite book there, but like it is just so good.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, no, it's just wonderful. Yeah, I feel like if you've followed either of our channels at this point, you have definitely heard about it. Also, I'm like working on a 1920s like reading vlog, and in it I was still reading, like at one point I was still reading Low, and it's obviously relevant to the 1920s because it talks about like modernism, and so I talk about it in there as well. Yeah, I guess maybe wait, I'm just gonna look up my list because I was thinking we could talk about it as a book that is also about the same things or similar things than the other stuff. So I was thinking about like discovering histories as a key theme, which like, you definitely get with this one, and you also definitely get with this one, and in a way you get with this one. It's less like personal or specific, it's more just like a wider history of kind of like music. But yeah, the other thing I really liked, and we did talk a little bit about it in the other video because we talked about men and apparitions and how it's like an academic kind of research stuff versus like this, which is like non-institutionalized. But I did like how like these two books kind of are exploring like this idea of like proletarian research, so like doing research outside of an institutional body, maybe being quite like in quotation marks like illegal about it in some ways, or like furtive, I guess. And then with this, you know, like she does a lot of like traipsing to various libraries and like carrying her babies with her and being like, please be quiet and have a banana, whilst she tries to photocopy translations and poems and things.
Yeah, no, that's actually one of the main reasons I gave that one 3 stars, not 2 stars. Or Ghost in the Throat, just because like I really appreciated that aspect of it, which made me want to be less harsh on it, like in general. Just because like yeah, I think it's very meaningful to like engage with that kind of like this conversation and research like outside of an academic context. I think it's also just like it contributes so much more, and it's actually like I don't know, like much more meaningful in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're not like stifled by the framework of like academia and the notion of like no matter like how radical your like research is, like you do have to commodify it in some way.
Mm.
And I think it was very much like, even though you obviously like references polyphonic, I think that like academic writing don't like resist kind of like sharing knowledge, even though that's kind of what it's for. You know what I mean? Like things
Absolutely.
being like a mutual collaborative, like and knowledge and writing being like collaborative thing you do together, like through your lives, through your relationships. It's just like no. I feel like it gets like kind of like nurtures genius in a way that like we're like individualistic and like strange.
I totally agree. And also like there's a way that like the way that like academia even works is explicitly involved in a kind of suppression of history that goes on then, because it relies so much on a really like dominant understanding of truth and of history and of power, and there's immediately all these gaps. Does that, I hope that makes sense. I don't know. I love that. I love research. Like I love this type of thing. Like I mean, it's also extremely fucking frustrating because you're like, I know these people existed, I just cannot fucking find them. Or I have like their name and I have some relation to something, but I can't find anything else, even though they wrote like 4 books, you know. Anyway, so that was one of the connecting things that I thought. And I think, oh sorry,
I just want to mention, I think it's quite interesting, just like in the idea of like uncovering history when it actually hasn't been archived. Because remember, like when I was doing my MA dissertation, not to be like academia, but like whatever about like lesbian like performance art and like film spaces, whatever, most is actually just like been deteriorated like through time. Like the films and like texts like don't exist. And that's just in the 70s because like they haven't been like well kept or whatever. I'm super frustrated. Like if I'm gonna write a thing, I just have to speculate and I have to like be honest with like speculating and be like upfront about speculating or whatever. And you do have to do that because like the material like often doesn't exist, and so first like knowing that it does exist and these things, these emotions like did happen, but because the way we like archive and like tell history, they're like inaccessible to us. I feel like we just be living differently now if we had that like knowledge, whatever. So for the hot take.
Yeah, I think like one of the books that Lo is a really good book to read alongside or like at the same time as is Wayward Life's Beautiful Experiments by Saidiya Hartman, because the way that that book reconstructs and visibilizes particular forms of life, specifically like Black life and queer life and like Black queer life, is, I mean, incredible and wonderful, but also like absolutely like in tandem with the kind of like luxury beauty of Lotte and Matilda and like what she does with her life and how she lives. And
I do really want to read that.
I think you would really like. I think it's really quite hard to read, but it's also really good.
Yeah, I'm saving for like a special time in my life, I think. Yeah, no, it's just so good. I guess we should like, if you're not gonna force anyone to watch my unedited video on my channel, it's like an hour long. Loads about Matilda, which is like transfixations on like these like modernist like figures, and kind of her like uncovering that history, and that leading to just like really like weird art residency kind of thing. And like I think like a fictional town. I think it's like in the Netherlands. I haven't read this in a while now.
It's supposed to just be like Europe.
Yeah. I just think that like I just pictured it being somewhere very specific that I've been.
Yeah.
Like oh, it's in the Netherlands. Like,
It might be.
no, I don't think that's true. I was thinking because like that's what I was picturing in my mind. I was like, oh, that's where it is.
Yeah.
But it's in Europe. It's just very good queer, but like luxury communism and luxury and kind of like the removal of like figures from history, especially like figures kind of like I don't know like who created art and like the art scene and kind of just like engaging in luxury. I guess kind of like proto luxury communism. I think that says so in the back as well. It's quite like interesting. It's these like angels and
angels so much.
Yeah, it's just so good. Like I think the best books are usually quite hard to like describe. It's very fake, but like it's just really good. You should read it.
Yeah. Also, I would recommend not reading any reviews before you've read it, because I do think that people like it's not like a plot heavy book in that in the sense that there's like a twist and a spoiler, but I do think that there's a way that the book uncovers itself to you that is like absolutely like part of the reading experience, and it's supposed to be like that because it's also about Matilda trying to find these people in history and in the past, and like Hermia Druitt specifically, who's this like Black modernist poet that she finds a picture of at the very beginning, and like it's better to be on that journey with her than to be told like where it ends or
you'll only experience something like unravel once, it's like you can reread it and like enjoy it, but like, and it's an amazing book, but I think to like have something like be uncovered and like happen before you, it's like a very like beautiful thing.
Great. Well, I really think I did quite well with this outfit.
Yeah, it looks so nice. I just want to be like amazing. I feel like most of the characters would like approve.
Thank you. Great. So, okay, I feel like obviously from the way that we talked and our ranking, we obviously want this one to win.
Yeah, I think it might win too, actually.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Like, this also actually got nominated for the shortlist, just like this one of the James Tate Prize, which recently got released, which kind of shocked me because I was like, really? But I feel like out of the ones I've read, I think this one is the only one that also could potentially. But I actually don't think it's like experimental enough for the prize.
Yeah,
To win
that's
it.
what I was gonna say as well, because I feel like if you read their like statement,
Yeah,
I think it just like fits, like I think it like transcends like what they're looking for, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and again, the Murder background like is really interesting, like as text, but like it is an experimental in the same way, like you said. I think though it's like everything is so good.
Yeah, and it would also be like amazing for Shola to win. Like this is their first book, and
Yeah.
also, like it was published by Jacaranda, who's great. And then obviously Jacaranda were doing their like 20 in 2020 publishing scheme for Black authors, which is obviously like super important and great as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And obviously, I'm very subjective. I think that like if I were to judge, it just has so much like I don't like merit and like it's so, like accomplished as a text. You know what I mean? Like it does so much.
Yeah.
It's like it makes me very like, oh wow, like that's possible to do. You know what I mean? Like it's very like joyful in that way.
Yeah. Honestly, genuinely, like even though I love it so much, I do actually think that it does have like I am gonna predict that it's gonna win.
Yeah, same. And I do think it's gonna win. This is like classic us though, like being
Yeah,
like, no way that this like possibly wouldn't go the way. That makes I was like thinking a little like I knew you were both gonna pick it, and I was peak us being like, there's absolutely no way this plan would not go through. Very often does not, but I feel like it's just like it is like such a great like book, and I do think it will win. It has gotten quite a lot of hype as well, I feel.
Yeah. I was trying to like self-justify our like this is obviously gonna win.
Right here, you heard it here first. Do you want to end here maybe? Did you have anything you wanted to like add?
I don't think so.
Yeah, very exciting. I'm sad I wasn't able to read all the books. I will at some point probably read the other two, just because I feel like it would have been nice to like dedicate space to talk about them as well. But like,
I still have like a thing to send you with the book, but I could put this in as well.
yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that.
Even if it's probably not going to be like my new fave, but like it's interesting to like have read.
Also, I obviously haven't read this, but obviously like Hildegard wrote about like this is Unknown Language by Hildegard of Bingen and Hugh Lemmy, and Hildegard wrote about like sound and stuff. So I was thinking about whether like maybe after I read this, some of the stuff in this will be like kind of similar. I don't know if you.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Anyway, but yeah, that was long listed, not shortlisted. But
I think that should have. I think that would have made not having read the books in shortlist. I think adding that would have made it more like thematically sad as well.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you so much for being here, Amanda.
Thank you. It's very nice to talk to you. I miss you.
I miss you too. Thank you for watching, and let us know your thoughts on the shortlist and which one you would want to win, and if you agree that Lo is one of the best books in the entire world. And yeah, I hope you have a nice day.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.